It is crazy how dreams change. I used to want to be a rapper, and it's something about that freedom of expression that really drew me in. It's probably why I hold the podcast mic like I do today. But man, what a journey, what a ride. Welcome to the Legacy Builders Podcast. I am your host, Mario Gonzalez Jr., and this is the place where we redefine generational wealth one story at a time. If you're looking to build something bigger than yourself, then you're definitely in the right place. In today's episode, I want to talk about my journey through hip hop, my experiences, and really what it means to me. And, you know, I feel like it partly shaped who I am today. Man, I grew up in the Thriller era where Michael Jackson was at his peak. You know, Thriller was playing nonstop. I used to watch MTV Raps and The Box. If you remember back then, The Box was a channel that would play music videos. But yeah, I remember like my parents or my dad and my uncle telling stories of how they used to b-boy. My uncle would spin on his head, and to this day, we'll still battle from time to time, you know. But I got introduced to the movie Break In, and you know, Ozone and Turbo dancing with the broom. I remember going to hosting a family picnic. My parents did, and me and my brother would try and put on an act and recreate that broom scene. What a freaking time! It was something about just, again, that freedom of expression and, you know, being creative and putting words together and just dance and graffiti that really was eye-catching to me. I remember my uncle, he bought me the Chronic 2001 for Christmas, and then from then it was game over. But I would go over to his house and he would be playing Bone Thugs and Harmony and Rapper's Delight. You know, I said a hip hop, hippie to the hippity hip hip the hop, and I was just blown away by rappers being able to stitch and layer words together in double entendres and trying to like figure out how to catch everything. For the longest time, my parents did not let me listen to hip hop or raps with cursing in it. So when I got my first CD player, I really wanted a specific CD. I forget what it was. Anyways, ultimately I ended up getting Will Smith's CD. Because it didn't have any cursing, you know, and I listened to it back to back to back to back. And then finally at one point I was like, you know what, I want to listen to explicit music. So I went to go get JT Money CD. That was my second CD. And after that, it was game over. And like I said, when my uncle bought me the Chronic 2001, it was just mind blown, you know. It really wasn't though until I moved to Montana that I started to get into actually writing my own bars. And the reason that I did is because I moved from the city life to the country life, and I didn't appreciate the country back then, and mountains and lakes and rivers and all those things, you know? I was like, it was for me, my identity was I was a city kid. And then so at that time, Eminem was popping off the charts and everybody wanted to be a stan, including me. But I remember downloading instrumentals or beats off of LimeWire, and back then you had to like get a cassette tape and then tape the bottoms of it so that way you can record. So I would download the beat, and then on my boombox, I had a boombox at the time, I would hit record play the beat on the background of my computer, and then I would spit my raps on it, you know, and it sounded terrible quality, horrible. I had horrible bars. I did not have my own voice back then. And after I made my first one, I was like, man, I actually sound kind of good, you know? Even though like that voice in the back of my head was like, nah, dude, you sound like garbage. But it was just that process of just taking initiative and making something, right, original to me. The beat was not original. My rhymes were original. So that was really, really cool. And it got to the point where I started making my own beats. Well, the first CD, it was kind of like a mixtape, right? My mixtape era. And a little bit of that entrepreneurial side came out of me. I probably printed up 10 CDs. I sold all 10 CDs. I was trying to sell them for $10 a pop. My rap name was Chico. Chico, because, you know, I am Mexican and I really leaned into that Chicano culture at that time, even though I was trying to sound like Eminem. So I sold them all. I had a little bit of a name at school, but not too much. And towards the tail end of my tenure at Montana, where I lived there for about 2 years, I started messing around with beats and producing beats. And I moved back to Texas. I got addicted just creating beats, listening to my favorite producers at the time, like Timbaland and Pharrell, and of course, Dr. Dre, and putting my own influences. So over time, I got a little better and a little better and a little better. I moved into an apartment with some friends, and I started rapping with them and collaborating, and that was a whole new experience in itself. I got signed, quote unquote, signed to a record label called Incognito Music, and my buddy ISO, that was his name. By that time, I changed my name to Tactic, and I'll explain more here in a bit of what this plaque means to me. But I changed my name to Tactic, and we recorded and recorded and recorded. I kind of became the in-house producer, right? So not only could I rap, I could produce. And by the time I found my voice, we were on stage, and I had performed a few shows. And the first show that I did in my rap career was exhilarating because I was born a natural introvert. I had relatives come to the house, and I would literally hide inside of my bedroom because I didn't want to say hi. That's how bad it was. So for me to get on stage and perform for people that I had no idea who they were, it was a really, really big deal. And it felt so freaking freeing. And I was able to express myself, Half my songs were about me feeling trapped and not knowing what I want to do and be confused. So it was an exhilarating experience. And, backtracking a little bit now that I think about it, rapping on stage actually was not my first performance. I was in the talent show, I believe in the fourth grade, performing to Michael Jackson. And I remember my dad teaching me the moonwalk, and my buddy Martin would come over every day after school, and we would practice and practice and practice. I think we practiced for about 2 months. And then the day of the show comes, and Martin is a no-show. And at this point, I'm about to chicken out, right? We had this specific choreography that we did. We were supposed to go on stage and kill it. And he is a no-show, and I almost don't want to go on stage. My parents talked to me, and they convinced me. And I finally summoned up the courage to get on that stage and perform to Michael Jackson's Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. But my issue is I'm going to have to go up there and freestyle because we had this specific choreography planned out. Anyways, I do the show, I get off stage, everybody is clapping. I wish I had that recording because, man, I was wearing windbreakers, green baggy windbreakers, and I think it was like a white t-shirt. And I ended up winning second place in that talent show. So that was my first taste of being on stage. It wasn't until many years later, 10 years later, till I was performing my rap stuff. But I remember I was kind of a little local celebrity. Even my mom, she would get recognitions. They would be like, "Oh, are you Mario's son?" And she always got a kick out of that, So again, being on stage and just having that creative aspect was a really, really, really dope feeling. When I moved to Texas, I got connected with some people who like to rap too. And like I said, I was an in-house producer. The moment where I felt like I might make it was when we were supposed to open for Scarface in Houston, Texas. That was a huge deal to me. I remember driving there, and then we get like a call 2 hours before saying that it wasn't going to happen after all, which was a huge bummer, because you work and work and work, and you just have this grand vision of being super rich and successful. Like I wanted the fancy cars and the girls and the partying life, even though that wasn't me, to my core. I wanted those things. I guess I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And in a way, having the opportunity to open for Scarface was a huge deal. So that ended up fizzling out. We were supposed to produce music or make music for some lady that used to work at Death Row. She was producing a documentary. So we got a call for that, and that ended up fizzling out as well. But it was just so eye-opening to me, the fact that I could produce and create and do things and then start slowly seeing recognition, I would never say that it ended, but I had to give up my rapping career because my first son was coming, and I had this Phantom keyboard. It was super nice. I think it was the X6, and that's what I made beats off of all the time. When we found out he was coming, I was broke at the time, man. I was living paycheck to paycheck. So it was like something that I felt I had to give up, but also that season or phase of my life was over. You know, I still tinker with it from time to time, but I don't regret it for a minute. It was, what an experience. If you're listening to the podcast, you know, on Spotify or Apple, you can't see this, but right here to the right of me is my platinum plaque, so to speak. My sister actually used to design my wardrobe. So this is a huge t-shirt. It was like a double XL t-shirt because back then everything had to be baggy. And so it says Tactic in all caps. She came up with the design, cut everything up. I used to give her every single copy of like music that I used to do, whether it was a mixtape or it was like a produced like beat or like a song that was unfinished. And so she got all of those, and she layered them around where it says Tactic. And this is one of my prized possessions, man. I kind of keep it tucked away because I don't want to mess it up. And I'll pull it out from time to time and look at it. But yeah, this was Tactic. It's a part of my life that I can't hide. I used to be embarrassed, and I am not anymore because it shaped who I am, or it helped shape who I am, right? That part of my identity. Like I know that there'd be times where I'd be in group settings and somebody would bring it up and I would just get embarrassed. But man, if you have a passion, or you know, you're creative, or there's something that you want to do, just freaking do it, even if you're embarrassed, because a time is probably going to come where you're going to regret that you didn't take that initiative and move forward with it. And if there's any takeaway, that's what it is. Like, what is your hip hop? What is your culture? What inspired you to do something that you might not necessarily have had the gumption to do? You know, hip hop for me was that thing. And if I could share it to the world, I would. I still to this day love watching, you know, interviews of Turbo, Boogaloo Shrimp. I'll listen to hip hop and try and decipher bars and just the culture till this day, man. I'm gonna be listening to it till I'm dead and gone. Folks always ask me to rap or spit a rap, and I always tell them, you can't get me drunk enough to do that. But specifically for my listeners today, I will spit something in closing because, again, I cannot hide from my identity. So this comes from a song. I don't remember what song it is, but it's just 16 bars. And if it sounds choppy, my bad. It has been a while. So here it goes. I'm a double threat, don't need to be triple. Gotta keep it simple, that way you don't get confused. Forget these fools, break them in like a pair of shoes. Menace to the game like a kid in his terrible twos. I'm here to win, you just there to lose. Get a clue, magnifying glass for a clearer view. Y'all all talk like an interview. What you think about that? How I play a bounce back, make a girlie scream like she just in the house right. How is that? Cause I'm fat with a PH. Got MCs taking 20 retakes just to be safe. You couldn't relate with the same last name. Even if you have my blood flowing through your veins, don't know what it is, but I'm going through a change. Evolve the game, see me in the Hall of Fame. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.